Wonder Diamonds, South India's largest lab-grown diamond brand. We are now open at Chennai, Coimbatore and Bangalore.
Hi Alia and welcome to Galatta Plus.
Thank you so much.
Do you really make good omelette and pav? That's a scene in Darlings and I'm like, okay, does Alia really cook that? Or no, you don't.
No, and you won't believe, but I learned it literally on the job because.
Okay.
But of course, I didn't cut any of the tomatoes or the onions myself. But yeah, secoing the pav and making the omelette and getting that perfect round circle or whatever. I'm not a cook.
You're not?
I don't know
Okay,
how to cook.
Okay.
I can make very good bread pudding because it's all scientific and it's really not that not that intricate.
That's what one comes to you for.
Yeah, bread pudding.
I saw this headline today. Mom-to-be Alia Bhatt steps out of home looking stylish in black t-shirt, jeans, black shirt, jeans. Alia Bhatt was spotted in Bombay on July 21st, sporting a casual look. See pictures. How the hell does one learn to deal with this kind of stuff?
Good question. I think I'm still kind of dealing with it.
You stop feeling that it's intrusive.
No, the thing is I understand where they are coming from because it's their job.
Okay.
I'm just like a big ball of love right now, so I can't help it. I do feel like it's intrusive. It's not like I don't feel it.
Right.
But then I have to do my best to sort of escape from the basement, try and hide as much as possible. Then you have to do all those things, but you can't really help. I love them. I love the Paps. They're like all my, friends. We've been, we're all a part of the same industry. And they're also very respectful. Like if I actually request them, they will also listen to me also and like not really push for a picture.
This is all Geeta pe haath rakhe sacho. I love the Paps and all that.
I swear.
Okay.
Like I genuinely do.
Okay.
Most of them are very friendly and very kind. I don't believe in kind of fighting anybody. If you feel like it's intrusive, you do your best to kind of shield it.
Right.
I'm not going to be like, hey, don't do that and all, because I don't think it's not about anger. They're doing their job, I'm doing my job. It's as simple as that.
Right.
And the equation works for certain equations, but sometimes it doesn't work for you. So you have to work hard to kind of hide it. So yeah, the intrusive part, sometimes even I feel like, arey yaar, I got papped and I really was not like looking my best, and then suddenly there'll be attention on that or whatever. I don't care about the way I'm looking, but yeah, maybe I care about like, chalo, if I'm not in the mood to kind of get photographs, then chalo, I have to work out a system that makes sure that I don't.
So you went all that out in your roles. Is that why you're so good in them?
Maybe.
Alia, was Darlings originally conceived as a Netflix OTT project?
So no, it came just as an idea to as a script brought to me by Red Chillies and Jasmeet. But I'll be very honest with you, and this is pre-pandemic. I read the script and I gave it to my dad to read, and I gave it to another friend of mine to read. And my dad was the first person to suggest to me, and I kind of had an inclination. I said, ye bahut achhi kahani hai, but it's not a theatre film. And I didn't know how to put my finger on what I meant by that. And he said that, I think you should take this to a digital platform because I think it'll sit very well on a platform like Netflix. And I said, strange, why do you say that? Because I had that sort of thought, like when I was like, debating whether I should do it, whether I should produce it, etc., etc. And he said, yeah, because, this is that kind of film where if I'm a woman and I'm experiencing this, or I have some sort of correlation, I don't think I want to sit with my partner or sit with anybody and watch it. It's a personal viewing. It's a private viewing. And there are certain films that don't require this sort of larger-than-life scale. They're more intimate storytelling. In my opinion, then finally, when we started shooting the film and, Red Chillies and Netflix have such a long-standing relationship and such a, close relationship, we kind of discussed it and everybody felt very comfortable about it that, I think we should take this film to Netflix while we were shooting for it.
Allow me to have a different opinion.
Okay.
I think it would play great in a theatre as well because it's a kind of a domestic, without giving too much away, it's a kind of a domestic noir come black comedy.
Yes.
So I could actually imagine tons of people laughing at something they've been wanting to do to this particular relationship person in their lives.
Yes.
I can imagine a whole lot of people just wow, wish fulfillment happening right here. So,
Well, when you say that, it's only a plus for me, because it makes me feel like, okay, fine, the film can also demand that kind of large audience enjoying it together.
But I get what you're saying,
But having said that, in my opinion, you release a film on streaming, whether it's a play, whether it's theatre, a good story will always connect and always travel.
Right.
Another reason also why it fits very well on a platform like Netflix, in my opinion, is it cuts across diaspora. So this is a story of these women and this family in the heart of Mumbai and Baikala. But somebody sitting in Korea could also relate to it. Somebody sitting in Thailand, and I experienced that with a film like Gangubai. That went mad in a place like Thailand. But that was thanks to Netflix and thanks to that, you're going into so many more homes.
Right.
So I'm hoping that this film does that as well, and it becomes a topic of conversation. Like even a film like Parasite, we sit here and watch it, and it's a take on, the social stature, and it's a kind of like a dark comedy as well. But it traveled. It traveled all the way here. It traveled to the Oscars.
Oscars, yeah. But I'm just thinking that at the end of the day, everything is an OTT film. Because more people saw Gangubai, despite the fact that it was a big hit.
Yes.
More people saw it on the OTT platform.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, I think everything becomes an OTT film.
Eventually, I think for you to go for reach, I think, there are even films like RRR that had massive reach in India, but have even more massive reach on Netflix.
Right.
It's really doing well, very, very well internationally. Similarly with Gangubai. So I think as artists and, as a part of the creative medium, we should only feel happy that we're getting longer legs. Like it's just like your film does not only survive for 3 to 4 weeks in a theatre.
Right.
It has a completely new shelf life.
Purely as an actor and given your performance, one can say, wow, Alia is very good in this OTT film, Alia is very good, whatever. But when you prove your box office clout as well in a Gangubai, that's an extra step, a dimension.
Of course.
Because then Alia is not just a good actor, she's also putting butts on seats.
Okay.
She's also one of the few people who can bring audiences to the theatres. So there's a certain market force at play there that differs between this and that. Why are you smiling? Are you feeling happy that I said that? Or?
No, it's a huge compliment.
It's a fact. I mean, Gangubai did extremely well in the
Yes,
theatres.
it did extremely well in the theatres, and we are very, very grateful. But I am not foolish to believe that it's because of my face. It's because of the character, and it's because of what I did in that character, and the film, and what it reached that number of audience. So tomorrow it may be me again, but it may be in a character that's not convincing, and it may be in a film that doesn't land, and those butts will not reach.
But those variables are true for any film. I'm talking about the fact that this is practically a solo heroine film.
Yes.
Of course, yes, it's a Bhansali film. There are fantastic masala dialogues. Everything's there. I'm not denying the X factors that go into making a film a hit or a flop. I'm not. But it was a solo hero film. It became a hit. So whereas when you do a Darlings, and of course I'm not comparing both films at all, but the audience is going to be able to appreciate only one aspect of it, whereas the other aspect will become a kind of a question mark. No offense at all. For the box office, this is working, and as an actor, I'm also getting different stories to tell. Yeah.
See, the thing is, I think love is love, You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you get love for a role, you get love for a film. And of course, you're absolutely right. The let's say the bankable star, the money aspect of it when your film does well at the box office is another high altogether.
Right.
It's not comparable. But at the end of the day, what are you left with post the box office numbers? Like 1 year from now, I'm not left with Gangubai did 130 plus whatever crores at the box office. I'm left with, oh, I loved that scene. Oh, I loved that character. So that's the love. So similarly, with a film like Darlings, of course, there's no numbers to support it, but Netflix has its own numbers.
Of course, yeah.
So that's also like number of viewing hours. All of that also adds up to something. And then what you're left with, again, beyond numbers, is love.
Yeah.
Because it stays. Like a film like Highway, for example, in my opinion, is the least grossing, like in terms of the numbers that it did at the box office. But people still talk to me about that performance.
Because that's the performance that blew them away, because nobody knew you had it in you.
Exactly.
Yeah, it was.
That's what I'm saying. So that has a different life of its own.
Yeah.
Today I was talking about it strangely with my friend. I'm like, listen, don't chase urban, multiplex, mass. Don't chase that. Chase love. Go for love. Go for a good film that is like, and that's what we all strive for.
Right.
We don't get it right all the time, but it's like, okay, listen, I think this film will get the love because it seems like really lovely to me.
I think this film is going to get a lot of love. But let's take films that did not get love. Let's take a Kalank. Let's take a Shandar.
Yeah.
Now, when you look at these films, something's working for you in them, and you're saying, okay, I'm feeling all these things. I'm going to commit to this film. But when the results come out, and when you see that the audience is saying, I'm not seeing the same things, I'm not connecting with it, does it make you question yourself? Do you talk to people about what could have happened? Why did I see it this way, but why did the audience not see it that way?
Of course, no. See, audience is king. in my opinion. So if they've not connected, then there's something that went wrong in your calculation. And yeah, like you rightfully said, sometimes on paper it just seems all right and it just doesn't land. You put every aspect together and it just doesn't land.
Right.
It doesn't come together and you can't do anything about it. So you go back to the day one. Okay, what went wrong? I am very academic as a person, so I like to look at what went wrong so that I don't maybe miss this red flags the next time. But at the end of the day, it's an instinctive process. So instinctively,
Sure.
you feel like it's going to go well for you and it doesn't. Okay, fine. At least it was your instinct.
Right.
You know? So even with a film like Kalank, it was all right on paper. And even a film like Kalank, it opened to 20 crores on a day one. So the people came to watch the movie.
Yeah.
But in fact, they were so disappointed that there was actually a lot of anger because it's like you built up an expectation. And that makes me feel very responsible as an actor, as somebody a part of the movies. I don't want to disappoint the audience because the audience comes with their hard-earned money and they pay and they want to watch an entertaining film. So when you disappoint them, their anger is also justified.
Yeah.
So I think you try and make sure that you don't, like, you see what went wrong. So I go back to, okay, what did I miss? Okay, there was a problem in the screenplay. There was a problem in the crux of the story. Okay, the audience didn't connect to this main emotion. Okay, you were actually not funny. You know what I mean? Like, all those things, you try and dissect it.
You're able to see that.
After some time, with some distance,
Okay.
you know,
Right.
distance always helps.
Right.
There's no saying that you won't have another mistake again
Sure.
because it's not clinical.
Yeah.
And if anybody had the formula, then we would all be extremely successful. So I think it's just something, your gut, your something, like, you know, Zoya teases me all the time. She calls me Paul the Octopus because she's like, you just know every time, you're my Paul the Octopus, you're my Paul. And I'm like, listen, actually I'm not. I'm just going with some instinct which is khichoing me. Like, I remember even when I did a film like Kapoor and Sons, Karan Johar, who's the producer of the movie, said, why are you doing this film? It's such a small part.
Yeah.
So I was like, no, Karan, I want to. And I want to work with Shakun. I like his mind. And I really love the story. Like, I don't know. I just love it. And it went really well for me because it did so well and I'm a part of a really good story. So I think it comes down to that.
Now, after the reopening of the theatres, there was a certain uncertainty of, like, what is the audience going to be like after all this? They've been imprisoned, they've been things. And there was this first reaction that people are going to go in droves and, you know, like, watch films like anything. But then a Gangubai happens and then it does really well. When the environment is in such flux.
Yeah, there is.
Nobody knows what's working, what's not. Because I'm not saying that earlier everybody had a clear idea, just like you said, but now it's even more of a question mark. How are you, as part of the fraternity, dealing with this flux situation?
See, I think everyone's being a bit too hard on everything. There has been a shift. There has been a change. Maybe you need to convince the audience a little bit more to get out of their homes than maybe before. Because now, after staying at home for 2 years, we have a certain comfort. Also, there have been losses of jobs, you know, lifestyles taking a complete crash. So it's like, okay, you have to make it really worth my while if I need to get to the theatre. Maybe it's harder than what it was before to get people out of their homes. But I truly believe this, that if you give them good content, they'll come. And if the content is good, it'll fly.
Yeah.
That's something that we should also not kid ourselves about. Maybe it's just like the kind of viewing nature has changed, like a certain kind of movie that maybe would have done actually very well at the box office earlier may not do as well. It'll still do well, but the audience going for it is smaller because they may just wait at home for 4 weeks to watch it on an OTT platform, so they may not get out. So maybe the films that will now do well in the theatres will just be the big spectacle movies, the visual spectacle movies. But then you never know. There'll be that one odd film which is not a visual spectacle, and a great story, and it'll do well, and where we'll be back to be scratching our heads and being confused.
Yeah.
So actually, it's a game of like deep chess right now. I think everybody is like watching everyone's move and learning from it. But I just think that, you know, if I may say so, and I'm somebody very young and I'm not actually a senior in the industry, but I just want to kind of give this positive vibe out to people because I think that there's a certain unnecessary negative lens on Hindi movies especially, which is not fair because I feel like there have been many years where we've gone through years of films doing well, films not doing well, films doing well, films not doing well. It's the same thing.
Right.
It's because we're coming out of a pandemic right now, the lens is a bit deeper. And it's a bit harder. And I think we just need to all kind of reset and take a beat and people will figure it out. Because at the end of the day, storytelling is not going anywhere.
Yeah.
Movies are not going anywhere.
Yeah.
you know.
We didn't know your mannerisms yet, but now you've done quite a few films. You have the way you smile, you have a way you cry, you have a way you do this, you have a way you do that. How do you ensure that, like in Darlings, when you're playing this character, that's from a very different social milieu, what do you do? What is this thing that you do to fine-tune yourself?
Well, I think for starters, from the very beginning, try and not bring any of yourself into the character.
Is that possible at all?
It is.
Okay.
It is, especially if the character is very away from who you are. Naturally, of course, sometimes when it's close to who you are, it's close to maybe the person that you are like, you will bring some bits of yourself. But if you do that, which is why it's so important to choose different characters in different subjects and different setups, eventually the emotions are the same, right? You are vulnerable, you are happy, you are sad, you are crying. I mean, they're kind of the same. But that's when the setup and the director and the delicacy of the delicate, kind of beats of the character really aid to create a whole new person and leave you out of the picture.
Right.
So I sometimes don't understand when people say, oh, it doesn't come naturally to me. But it should not come naturally to you because it's not about you. It's about a totally different person. So I'm totally not like Badru. I don't respond like Badru. I would never...
Badru is the character in Darlings.
In Darlings. Yeah, the Badru is a character in Darlings. I'm nothing like her.
Yeah.
I don't respond like her. In fact, I'm extremely outspoken, sometimes almost obnoxious with my opinions. Badru is that character who will think twice before saying anything.
And she cooks.
Yeah. I don't know how to cook. So I think that's why also as an actor I choose characters that I'm not really relating with as much. But sometimes, of course, you will get that odd character that is a bit like you, and then you have to just hope that the director handles you. And that's what I think is my main focus, is to work with really good directors and, with really good written matter, because at the end of the day, it's a director's medium. The actor can do whatever they want.
Now, when you get a new director, like in Darlings, Jasmeet Reen, or Two States, Abhishek's first film, right?
Yes,
Abhishek
yes.
Varma's first film. What is this instinct that says, okay, I think this person is going to make a good film? Because Darlings is a good film and it's been made with a very good eye.
Yes.
But you don't know that. I mean, we know that now that we've seen it.
Yes.
But, when you're seeing it on paper, you're only kind of hoping that that's going to happen.
Of course.
So what's that thing that...
But with Abhishek, it was totally different because Abhishek worked on, Two States as an associate, on Student as an associate. So I interacted with him before my first film. So I just knew his instincts and his personality is like he's a filmmaker and he's going to be a very good filmmaker. And also it was very early on. In fact, I was extremely grateful when a film like Two States came to me. With Jasmeet, it happened much later on in my career. So you can say that, in fact, okay, working with the first-time director is a big risk or something for an actor. But I don't think it's that way.
I'm not talking about risk.
Yeah, you're like, how do you judge
Yeah.
For me, if the director is also the writer, I'm instantly more comforted.
Okay.
Right? Even a film like when a film like Humpty came to me, Shashank had written the film and he wanted to direct it. So I can tell that if you've written it, you've lived with the subject, you want to, it was a certain understanding that no one else will have.
Yeah.
So Jasmeet co-wrote it with Parvez, but the fact that she wrote it was a big, this thing for me, comforting aspect for me, and also just conversation. Yeah. Sometimes it's just like you talk to her, and I spoke a lot to her. I got an understanding of how she's seeing the world visually, the adjectives she would use, the certain understanding she had, the tonality that she was interested in. I just thought that, listen, it's her story, she's written it, no one's going to tell it better than her.
Yeah. What kind of preparation did you do for Darlings?
So I'll be very honest, I don't believe in too much pre-prep in terms of an emotional aspect point of view. I only go for the language prep the film, and a lot of the prep happens here. I sit with the director, I understand a few key words. That's something that I actually learned on a film like Gully Boy, where we did a workshop, and actually an actors and the characters comes down to kind of 5 key words. So I sat with her on what those words are, and then you're constantly operating from that place.
That's very interesting.
Yeah. Like I said, it's academic before you begin, but when you're on the set, you actually sometimes even forget those words.
It becomes instinctive.
It becomes instinctive, you're living the character and all, but it was all there on paper for me to be like, okay, listen, this is the way I want to play the character, and this is what I don't want to do. And because it's a thin line between comedy and drama, some of the sequences, you can be a little bit like, should I laugh here? But actually it's a funny sequence, but actually it's not, it's a dark, so you have to really just play it true as an actor. So the prep was more linguistic, more like getting that the lingo of the way Badru, the character and the world speaks, which I kind of already had done a little bit of in Gully Boy, so this sort of helped this. But yeah, other than that, it was just, again, conversation. A lot of conversation.
Now in Heart of Stone, directed by Tom Harper, and I just am excited about this because he's directed a few episodes of one of my all-time favorite...
Peaky Blinders.
Peaky Blinders, that's like takes too much. So is that acting in some way or shape or form or tone or pitch different from the acting that you do here?
No, it's not different acting, because see, at the end of the day, as a job, the job as an actor is just to kind of communicate what the written word is. So for me to communicate what the written word is, again, I'm operating from the same place, right? What was weird though was speaking in English. Like I was a bit awkward for the first 2 days, being like, okay, I'm actually thinking English, but the first I'm actually speaking in English. But I got over that after 2 days. It's a director-to-director medium. So every director will have a different way of and different kind of tones that they like. Yeah. But the place with which I'm operating from is the same. Nothing of that change.
Right. Finally, do you see yourself doing an indie project like how Amir found himself in Dhobi Ghat? And yes, you've done your Udta Punjab. Yes, you've done certain kind of films. But then there was also the safety net of... like you were surrounded by Kareena and Jeet and like there was a... Shahid. So there was kind of a, it was still a bit of a mainstream film.
Yes.
Do you ever see yourself coming this side? Maybe on Netflix.
Look, for me, I just need to be engaged. So for me, I don't want to never say never, but for every film that I do as an actor, I want to be engaged while watching it, even though I'm acting in it and doing it while I'm performing it. So there is no classification for indie, mainstream, commercial. For me, that is...
Right.
It's actually that categories that happen post the film is actually made. Yeah, so I think I'm chasing the story.
See, ultimately, like most people say, it's either a good film or a bad film.
Yeah.
So it's not... But what I meant by indie is the space, the tonality, the pace, how it... Like how they say art house or mainstream, right? That's what I mean. So like if you watch certain films, you would feel ye picture shayad theatre mein nahi chalegi because of the... I don't mean this with any sort of thing, but sometimes I just naturally am not entertained by a very pacey, slow film when I'm hearing the narration. So I may not do it only for that reason. Okay.
So it has nothing to do with the art house, commercial, all of that. Again, like there may be a commercial film also that's also very slow and I'm not like really getting into it. So like I said, it's about me getting into it. In fact, sometimes it's extremely liberating for an actor to just do a film which is just based, like where you're just discovering and you're just going on a bit of a journey, kind of like I did in a film like Highway. You don't get to really repeat that very often, and when you're worried about the numbers in the theatre, definitely you won't do that. But yeah, if it's coming on a platform like Netflix, it will find its audience.
Right.
So I may want to do a show like that, for example, which is more like, has a different sort of pace, but it's like a bit of a discovery and, it's a bit slow, but it's a show. So it's kind of drawn out.
So to take a word that you just said, liberating, you just said 5 words, workshop, etc. So I'm taking the liberating word. Which is the movie that liberated you the most?
I think it's a tough question. Also, picking between your films is just tough.
Okay. All right. Let's just call it the new one, Netflix Darlings.
Yes, the next one.
And next
the new one is the most liberating one.
Thank you so much, Alia.
Thank you so much.